Hello everyone, Ken and Loa here. This time with Path of Exile Blight League, and Blight League came out just this Friday, or last Friday, I mean, and they have made a great deal of various different changes, both big and minor, in addition to the new mechanic of Blight League. And Blight League is essentially a tower defense league. And, well, I will say that when I was looking at trailers of this new league and stuff, I was quite skeptical of how well it would integrate with how Path of Exile typically plays, with its emphasis on action, faster paced action and whatnot. And I believe they made a as perfect of a balance as I could have hoped for right off the bat here. So just to skim off some changes that they made that are not necessarily linked to Blight League itself, they made some various buffs to some various skill gems, like the charge trap support. They buffed the critical multiplier, the trap throwing speed of charges, like just little things like that to some of the various skill gems. They also added in quite a few new skill gems, especially that are relating to the various ascendancies they have been advertising of being much more powerful this league. They made a lot of changes to the assassin ascendancy for Shadow, the summoner for the witch, which I of course didn't choose, and then they did some buffs to the raider ascendancy, and then I think they made some minor changes to a few of the other ascendancies, but they weren't nearly as big. So they added quite a few skill gems that were relating to poison, so you can effectively do damage over time with builds that are with poison much better than before. And then, and then they made quite a few changes to Saboteur and mine gameplay. So for mines, before you would place them at your feet, well, now you throw them super quickly, which is, in my opinion, a whole lot better than placing them at your feet. So those were some of the minor changes. So the big thing for Blight League is you interact with this pump, and then this spore here will branch off to make various portals, essentially, and then you can make towers along the way to either deal damage to them, slow them, shock them. You can make minion towers, all that sort of things, to try to help you kill them. So one concern of mine when I was going into this, I was thinking, well, how are the monsters balanced? Like, is it one of those things where you deal next to no damage to them and you have to rely on towers, or can towers kill them all easily? And the answer is from what I've found anyway, I wouldn't really consider my build super amazing, but they made, like I said before, the perfect balance of you need to deal damage to the enemies, and your towers need to help you as well. I found that quite a bit, that your towers are not enough to kill them. They definitely help out, but you can't rely solely on them very, very well anyway. So with my character, I decided to use Ice Trap, which is arguably one of how would I say it? Out of the main traps that people use, it is probably the least popular. I don't know. I've just liked Ice Trap for some reason. Fire Trap is definitely pretty much better in any way, from what I understand, and they buffed Fire Trap by about 10% overall damage again, and area of effect. So I've been doing an area of effect witch using Ice Trap and critical hits. So increased critical strikes. One of the new supports, quick swift assembly, and then charge trap and whatnot. So without further ado, I've been going on long enough. Let's get started with the Blight encounter. So you get a timer here of how long you have until the monster starts spawning out of this portal, and you see here how many portals there are. They don't always show up all at once, which is a good thing in this case. So I'm gonna do a level 2 shock tower.
The blight is trying to spread.
So as soon as it starts, sometimes you only have 1 or 2 portals, and then it branches off like this pretty quickly.
Let's see what this tower can really do.
And definitely the towers make good work of stuff, but at the same time it is a good idea to also deal as much damage as you can to them. So with that, we have defeated the Blight, and then we get chests. And the rewards are kind of similar to Legion, where you get a guaranteed reward based on the symbol on top of them. I think the chest is just items. Because when you see the Chaos Orb icon, that is currency. Well, maybe the chest is also currency. And then that is jewelry, so lovely. So I guess in that encounter I could have probably just let the towers kill most of them. I think the main reason why I was able to do that as much is that I'm level 78 and I'm in a 67 area, just to make things a bit easier for showcasing this. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. And there are maps that are solely Blight encounters. I personally have not received any Blight maps, and from what I've seen of them, they are quite ridiculous. They have like 20 different portals, and you have to have the pump survive for like 5 minutes straight of continuous monsters spawning. And I don't know if my build would necessarily work all that well for that. I mean, I do have pretty good air effect. I will give it that. Currently, like, it's pretty decent. But yeah, I haven't given myself a try on that. So the main reward for doing Blights that entices you to go after these encounters is not only the various loot that you can get, similar, like I said, to Legion, of guaranteed items that you can get for various things, but also you can get these oils. And what these oils do is that they allow you to you can buff your rings with some kind of buff to towers, like, for an example, the fire towers, extra damage for them, or extra chill effect for the ice towers, and stuff like that. But the main thing that you would want to go for is much more important. Let me just sort this out so that I can... There we go. So with the various oils, you can get notables from any point in the tree by enhancing your amulet, enchanting your amulet. And it doesn't matter where it is, as long as you have the right color of oils, you can get anything on the tree. So for me personally, I have been planning to do a power charge build using void batteries if I can get the massive amount of currency I will need for that. And also I have one of the new unique items that makes so my maximum frenzy charges equal to my maximum power charges. That is very important. But if I want to get overcharge here, what I'll need is a crimson oil, a black oil, and I think they called it silver oil for some reason, white/silver oil, to get overcharge from across the skill tree. And from the oils that I have received, I have Cynthia, Clear, Teal, Verdant, Amber, and Azure. I kind of wish that they would tell you what tiers they are. They have various tiers of them. The clear oil is the lowest level, and I think there's like the golden oil is the very, very top. It's like tier 12 level of oil, and they each have their own minimum level requirements. So it's kind of like Legion, that instead of splinters you get these, and I really do find that them allowing you to get anything on the tree that you want is a very interesting idea, and I really like that aspect, because from where I'm starting and me going into traps way over here, I didn't really have any means of getting overcharge, or let's just say, what if I want amplify for more area of effect and area damage, or something along those lines, or more defensive ones, discipline and training, or constitution. It just leaves the door wide open for many different possibilities for how you would want to do your build. Of course, with the different tiers of oil, some are going to be much harder to obtain. Like this one, I think the silver oil was like tier 10, and the black one was like 9 or something. So if I wanted to buy that from other players, that would be pretty expensive. I think the only thing that I kind of don't like about Blight as a whole, with the whole oil mechanic, is that you are not guaranteed to get any oil from each encounter. It all depends on, I guess, if you get lucky enough to have the oil icon guaranteed drop from a chest, or unless there's like a chance for each one, but I'm pretty sure that you have to go for like the oil specific chests to show up in order to get any. It's kind of like the incubators that Legion had. I mean, I didn't even get any incubators from all my time in Legion, so if that doesn't tell you anything. So, with that, what do I think of Blight League? Well, overall, I would say I really thought that this league would be... I would have mixed opinions of this league, but with me experiencing it, I think they did a really great job on making the tower defense mechanic synergizes well with the gameplay, especially if you look up any Blight maps. It is very hectic, and possibly and well, a whole lot faster paced than the standard encounters. So with that, one concern though is that the Blight maps hammer your computer, so if you don't have a very good computer, Blight maps are going to be very hard on it, and it's going to be very laggy. The other thing is that if you get a Blight encounter that has, like, what if, for an example, the pump was here, but then it makes roots like in all 4 directions, it is actually quite difficult to cover every area, and once you get in the heat of the moment, it can be hard to actually make new towers. From what I have experienced. So with that, I would say Blight League is a lot more fun than I ever thought it could be, and the oil mechanic sounds very interesting, and I could definitely see so many people coming up with builds or various different things that would improve their character by quite a bit. Like, let's just say with my build, if I get discipline and training or something, that's like 200 life or 300 life right there from enchanting. Or like I mentioned before, if I want even more air effect and I want amplify or something along those lines, it really is just up to you. You could get overcharged, a chance to get any type of charge on kill 8%. I mean, 8% isn't a lot, but from 1 point, that isn't bad. Stuff like that. I just really like that ability to choose, in a sense, of what you can get. So just a little bit on my build plan here is that I went with all of the power charge nodes, and then I went for the trap stuff and try to get every power charge that I can, and then like I mentioned before, I'm gonna do 2 void batteries, and then I have ice trap. And supposedly, according to Path of Building, with that setup, I can get like about 100% crit chance and have like 700-800% crit multiplier, so that sounds good. And I'm actually going to change my ascendancy to occultist for the power charge node and also the extra curse and whatnot. Oh, and also one interesting for traps and mines is the skitterbot. It's summoning an invincible minion that gives you trap and mine damage, but they also chill and shock enemies near it, so it gives you a good possibility of, like, especially with the shocking, to increase your damage that way. So like, that's just a little bit about what my character is, in case any of you are interested in looking into that, and Blight League as a whole. So yeah, it's definitely a lot more enjoyable than I thought, and I am very curious of how, when I'm higher level, like maybe mid 80s, of how I would fare against the Blight maps, and it really does sound like they are extremely profitable as well. So if you are interested in that, or if you have a build that has chaining or like caustic arrow, where it leaves like damage over time in an area but has a duration, I think those would work very well with the Blight mechanics. I mean, the AoE that I've been working with sort of works, but not as well as I was hoping. So with that, I think that's everything I wanted to cover for Blight League. So thank you very much for watching, and have a wonderful day, and hopefully this gives you some insight of, if you were skeptical about Blight League and haven't jumped into it, I would recommend it. Okay, sorry about that. I'm recording this post everything else, so this might seem a bit strange, but there were a few things that I forgot to mention that I know are worth mentioning that I, for some reason, forgot about. So they changed up how the master missions work for various things, like delving for Nico and Zaina, the incursion person, and all of those people. So now you can choose when and where you do your master missions. So with this, I can choose to have Nico appear in my maps 3 times. Now, there are different, how it determines the different tiers that these go into by these numbers here. Like, the white is, they will only accept up to tier 5 maps for white, and then I'm guessing yellow and red is just yellow's tier 6 through 10, and then red is 11 through 16 or whatever. So with that though, it's great that you can choose your own missions now. One thing that does bug me though is that it just kind of seems like, why do they force you to play certain maps? Like, why can't... For an example, for my standard account, when I was trying this out, I was going to do Nico's mission on a few old tier 12 maps that I had, or tier 11, and it's just kind of like, well, I have them, but why can't I manually put their mission on those high tier maps when I want, you know? Because at tier 5, Nico only gives, I don't know, maybe 300 sulfur, even with a high item quantity. Whereas if he appears in tier 12, he might, with a high item quantity, he might give me 1,000. It just... So with that system, I mean, it's good. And you do get a few per day. I think it's 1 or 2 per day. I'm not 100% sure. But it kind of begs the question of, why can't I choose the master missions to be on maps that I own? Like, why is there a tier restriction? Or, I haven't really looked into it, but I don't even know how they give you yellow and red master missions. Like, do you have to do a red map and just be lucky enough for them to give you a master mission for those maps? I'm not really sure. But the tier restriction is quite annoying in a lot of cases. So I'm not sure why that was. And I thought there was one other thing that I wanted to mention before I post this video. Well, I think that was the main thing that I missed. So if there is another thing that I also missed, well, I might get some comments about that. Oh well. So with that, finally, this is the end of my Blight League review. So overall, I do recommend Blight League. The new master missions. Oh yeah, the other thing is that they did update the art of life flasks and mana flasks, and I really do love the art for mana flasks, but for the life flask, I don't know, I just don't really like the life flask art for some reason. It just, like, the Eternal Flask used to look like it was special for being like the top flask, and now it just kind of looks a bit ordinary. I don't know, but the Mana Flask art, I would say, definitely has improved. But that's just another small thing that I mentioned. So the Master Missions thing, I do like it, but the tier restriction kind of kills that system for me personally. So I don't know. So I'll just leave it there. So thank you very much for watching, and have a wonderful day.